back to another edition of Sound the Sirens. I'm your host, Thomas Orness. Pretty darn good game on Saturday.
Yeah, it was very enjoyable. It was probably one of the funnest games we watched in a long time, especially on the road. I mean, we knew that Cincinnati had athletes who really didn't, and they hung, and they hung with Oklahoma, so we really didn't know what to expect, and I thought our kids played really well.
And which Cincinnati's first, it's nice when Cincinnati's first pass comes to us and not them. Because
boy, TJ Tampa, it's pretty good.
Yeah, we're criticizing him a little bit last podcast, and I feel like last podcast we talked about how Jalen needed to play really good, which special teams he played fantastic. Those long returns, that's stupid. I mean, the only mistake was when he held Norton's run for like half a second too long.
Yeah, I mean, but you can understand why he really was. He didn't know where the runner was at, and that happens all the time. It's pretty excusable. I mean,
yeah, but we scored on that. The couple next plays, Ben Bramer has another touchdown. It's just seeing Rocco and Ben Bramer connection is just fantastic.
So who does Ben Bramer remind you of?
He honestly reminds me kind of like just not even like it's like. I'd say like a Notre Dame tight end or like Mayer or like
I think a little closer to home.
Dallas Clark.
Yeah, that's right. That's who he's reminding me of.
He tried to do a Dallas. We were at the Clarks. Shout out to Devin and Derek, and they were at them, and it was just weird because he was trying to do what Dallas's signature move was, and it's just kind of weird because he had the
ball.
He just needed to
put both hands on
it. But hard to criticize a 18-year-old freshman who's like probably the go-to guy in our offense for receiving. And Higgins also really was probably the player of the game, honestly. His long 75-yard run, and I think he just looks way more comfortable. And I don't know, it's just Cincinnati didn't really look like every time they needed to make a play, we just made a play instead. And it's just hard to do that when you.
Well, I told you on the phone that I said I wish I would have watched Satterfield, their head coach's press conference before we did our last podcast, because they were number 2 in the country in defense, according to him during his press conference, and they also are on the streak of sellouts. So I mean, this is a football school. I mean, they've been in the the hunt for the national championship a couple times off and on, and they have athletes. I mean, Ohio has got a lot of good football players, so I think we might have downplayed a little bit going into the game. But, geez, we came out and played really well, punched them in the mouth, and you can go down the list of the guys that played well. I mean, especially our offensive line. Everybody has been on them for so long, and they just keep getting better every week. I mean, James Neal still has his moments where I'm wondering what the hell he's doing, but he played well, especially on that fake field goal. But I mean, we're actually getting Remsburg back. We got a little depth now in the offensive line too, and so I'm happy for him being back.
Did you see the video of him and his dad embracing after the game?
No, I didn't.
Just like, man, I mean, just to think of what he's gone through. Thinking the last 6 games, I bet he's been like, I should be out there. And
well, we said a few weeks ago, we said, hopefully he could come back and at least, do a couple positive things. And I was thinking, around Thanksgiving time, maybe getting on the field. And now he can have a really good year the rest of the way out.
I wonder if it won't happen because the NCAA is the way they run, but I feel like he should just get another year or something, because how many COVID years have been given out? Like there's a kid who has been in the school for like 8 years.
But I think they're opening up a whole new can of worms if they give a gambling year.
Yeah, right.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Or like the rules. Like think of Kansas, like investigation, FBI, and Oklahoma State was banned from the tournament, like over something that was nothing compared to what the Kansas sanctions were. But it's just
Kansas brought down a banner and had to vacate wins.
But like.
Versus
that, but it already happened. Versus you're prevented. Versus you're taking something down that obviously is down from the history books, but it's not. You can't wipe it away from people's memories. It's just the way it is. And But I don't know. But having like Okie State, where that one year where they've really stinted their basketball program because that one year they just couldn't go to the tournament and it was around the pandemic. And I don't know. It's just seeing Oklahoma State's kind of similar to us because if it happened to us, we would be way more vocal about it.
Oh, sure.
Because our fan base would not give that up for a second. But
well, speaking of Oklahoma State, man, they're making us look really good right now. I mean,
yeah,
they're playing pretty well.
Yeah, which shocks me because they did not look very good.
They look disinterested at times.
Because I don't know. I think some Oklahoma State fans are kind of wishing for Burgundy to fail in front of his face because
I think so too.
They're just kind of
That's
kind of similar to what Iowa is doing with Kirk Ferentz, but like he keeps winning. Iowa's 6-1,
right?
And there's some like I feel like a huge portion of their fan base would be happy if Kirk Ferentz was done this year.
I think that there's a huge portion of the fan base with the Hawkeyes would be happy if Caitlin Clark was their quarterback.
Yeah,
I mean, she at least knows how to score.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was cool seeing.
Yeah, that thing was cool. But yeah, it was so much fun. And I tell you what, I predicted after the Ohio game that I thought we could possibly go into November with 3 losses, and I hate to say it, I'm hoping I'm right. I mean, we should beat Baylor. I mean, right now, unless all of a sudden Baylor wakes up this weekend, I think they go to Cincinnati as well. So if we can beat Baylor, God knows what's going to happen. That'll put us at 5-3.
How many little things that just went our way? Like the ball hit the pylon. Like how many games where it would have just been kicked out of bounds? They get better field position. But I feel like our special teams played really good.
Yeah.
Perkins, low key, part of the game was when he caught that high snap, put it down, kicked field goal good because that's a momentum play. If they block that, that's a momentum play for Cincinnati. That's just like the little things and margin things that Campbell's been talking about that we need to go our way. And
isn't it? We always compare ourselves to the school out east, but at least our punter isn't the guy going to the press conference after the game.
Yeah, that's true.
We only punted 3 times,
and it's just Noel or Rocco looks like a senior outside.
He is really settled in.
He just looks so comfortable. And
did you see the picture of him somebody posted it on Twitter? I think it was a 247 picture of him like when he was in high school. He was really skinny in high school. I mean, he's not Arnold Schwarzenegger today, but he's really filled out.
He looks just. I mean,
he looks so comfortable.
Watching Purdy on Sundays. I mean, obviously Purdy didn't play exactly very good on yesterday, but
played good on the last drive.
I know, but obviously it's just funny how you see that 49ers missed a field goal, and the first thing in my mind was just like, how many more hours of like talking points do these guys have on these talk shows about how just goes based on one kick, because like Purdy would not be talking about at all today, and it's just like it just gives ammo to people who want to bash him. But it's just like it made me think on Sunday, just like what let LeBron's family and like go through for 20 years still, criticizing every single play and every game. And it's just everything's the end of the world. So it's just we're getting a very small taste of what LeBron and like that the media does to a player. I think Brock has a good backbone, and I think he's not on Twitter. I feel like during Iowa State, like he wasn't very social media presence anyways. I feel like if I was Brock Purdy, I would just get a flip phone and be a multimillionaire, and who gives a crap?
I just want him to get to the point where he's a multimillionaire. Yeah. I mean, this whole contract thing, I mean, I don't know Brock at all. He wouldn't know me from anybody. But everybody is so invested in him. You and I are. I mean, your brother is. Your mom is cheering, screaming at the TV for a 49ers game, for crying out loud. And so we all feel invested in this kid. And I just want him to get to the point where he's getting that big check. I mean,
he will be.
I mean, we just got to keep him healthy, though. I mean, that's the thing that I worry about. I mean, but yeah, he it's a horrible conditions. You lose Deebo Samuel. You lose McCaffrey. Trent Williams goes down, wasn't 100%, and almost went still. That should be the narrative.
Should have won. Put him in position to win, and they didn't.
That's the narrative that they should be saying.
Yeah.
I mean, Gronk came out today and was talking how great Brock Purdy is today too. So, yeah, so it's so much fun. Brees, did you watch the Jets yesterday?
Yeah, I watched the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, but Brees, I've never seen Brees talk that much before. He was screaming at those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, so somebody must have said something to him. He got under his skin.
I feel like college Brees and NFL Brees are
two different things.
Because I feel like Brees has to, being running back, I feel like, especially nowadays, where when you grew up, the running back was the guy.
Yeah.
Like the top dollar now. And I feel like even the best NFL running backs have to scrape and claw to get $1 because they know running backs is such a hard position in your body. But I don't know. I think
that's a good point. I mean, I think back to when I was, young enough to I remember the undefeated Miami Dolphins team. I mean, I had a Larry Zonka jersey when I was a kid. I had an O.J. Simpson jersey because I remember that run. And that's back when we'd get to see maybe 2 games every Sunday. And then I'd get to stay up on Monday Night Football and watch the highlights of the other teams. It's the only way I could ever see any other teams. But Chuck Foreman for the Vikings, you can go down the list of all of the great running backs back then. And speaking of that, I'm kind of all over the map today because I'm really tired. But I watched an interview with Bo Jackson the other day, and he's talking about him getting timed in a 40. And I'd never seen this before. So he says the guy shows up as a scout and wanted him to run a 40, and he really didn't want to do it. So he took off running, said he kind of cruised for the last 5 yards, and they electronically timed him at a 4.3. And this coach came over and goes, "Come on, Bo, they want to see what you can do." And he goes, "Well, if I'm going to do this, you got to open those doors because I need more time to stop and put my bag out there because I'm not coming back." And so he runs a full tilt 40, and it electronically timed him at 4.13. And I had a couple guys that were hand timing him under 4. I mean, and he weighed like 230. I mean,
what would he have done in this? And that was the style of offenses back then were so different. Like if he would have been in space more, but obviously
he was a freak. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, Brees needs to. Brees is playing really well. I love it's so cool when the Jets fans are all screaming Brees like they're booing him. The whole thing, and I used to get a lot done on Sunday when I really didn't care about the NFL. I didn't get jack crap done yesterday.
That was when we always did packets and stuff because obviously we had no cyclones in the NFL back then, really. Yeah. But that's just as you said, even more of seeing Rodgers might come back. He's been throwing he tore his Achilles 30 days ago or something crazy like that.
I can't believe that he's. Yeah, I don't see how that's possible, but
he
does his voodoo
shows
thing.
You that millionaires and billionaires have more access to healthcare. I feel like than.
Well, he probably flew to Panama and got some stem cells, which are illegal.
That's what I mean.
That's what I'm guessing. Yeah,
like a high schooler can't just blow out Achilles and then go to a different country.
Well, I think Peyton Manning, he got stem cells in his neck too.
So did Kobe, and it's just. Yeah, it's a weird, different world, and just it'll be interesting to see if Rodgers can come back because he'll be when I was coming into the season, I always thought Brock Purdy, I did not expect him to play this well, and it's just he's 4th in MVP odds, that's crazy. But we thought coming into the season, we watched Hard Knocks all summer, getting us ready the season, which they were the talk of the media. But if we can get Rodgers back. It'd just be nice to see because I think Brees is freaking so good, and if he can get some more recognition and some more touches, because it's just funny because they brought in Dalvin Cook, but I think he's a backup.
Yeah, he is a backup. He don't even talk about him.
Yeah,
he never even gets mentioned.
Yeah, so
Will McDonald's on punt defense or punt return. I mean, so he's getting on the field a little bit.
He's a freak, and which he did that starting out at Iowa State because he was a freshman. I remember as an 18-year-old at the same game where Lima got hurt in 2018, the Juicy Wiggle game, and seeing him fly around, it's man, Campbell's really good at recruiting. And then I think we got a similar player. Not obviously, I don't think he would be a first-round draft pick, but 88 who ate our D-end on Saturday.
He's not the guy that everybody butchers his name.
Yeah, I would don't want to disrespect his family by mispresenting his name, but he plays so he's really
Onyedem?
Yeah, he's blossoming.
Tyler Onyedem. That's how Ryan Harklock told me to pronounce it. I think Onyedem. Is that right?
No, I think
that's not what.
That's a different guy.
That's not what they were talking about.
That's 11.
This is insane that we're actually trying to look up players' names. Oh, Ikenna. Yeah, I'm gonna butcher it too.
Yeah, 88. Which
yeah,
I think he'll be a player. Every game he's getting better and better. And I think the one thing we're kind of missing on defense is pass rush, and I think which was kind of impressive on Saturday because that quarterback was so mobile, and I think Haycock going against Oklahoma for all these years really kind of, I mean, he's not Kyler Murray, you know. We went against Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield and Jalen Hurts, and I think our defense scheme is really rock solid, and I think our linebackers are playing a lot better than they did earlier in the year. I think I think obviously, who's 23, McLaughlin. Yeah, he's played freaking good.
23 months ago, he was playing in the Dome against your brother.
Yeah, he's played fantastic, and
he had a terrific game.
Yeah, him, and just like if we can keep those guys around, like NIL, the We Will Collective, and all that jazz.
Yep.
If we can keep those, like Orange, what is he gonna look like when he's like Tampa's age?
Yeah, he's still pushing centers into the backfield.
Crazy.
I mean, he is a freak. But I really want to know how to pronounce that Kenna's name. Ezeogu.
I think we'll eventually learn it. We'll learn it each game. I think
that is going to be my homework for the next week, is to learn how to pronounce his name.
Yeah, it's just at least I think last game they finally gave credit to an Asian player. They didn't get like Ben Nickel and Ben Brim. They didn't mix that up this time, which is kind of.
Well, and the Tashawn James came in. He gave us good minutes of the safety too when Jeremiah went down. Jeremiah's leading the country still in interceptions. I mean, we're overall, just in general, we're playing so fun to watch. I mean, he scored 30 points. I mean, that was on the road in a place that has athletes. I mean, Cincinnati has a lot of athletes. I mean, it wasn't like we're going to talk about that Ohio game, for a long time, because
I think it's washed. I think that team's gone. I think it was
right. I agree.
So many circumstances,
but we should be legit 5-2 at least, if not 6-1.
But like, if I'm the coaching staff and I'm the players, it wasn't a conference game.
I'm talking
like,
no.
Who would have thought we got a shot of go to, if we can beat Texas somehow, like we can go to the Big 12 championship game. Who would have thought that?
Yeah. Well, we got a long ways to go. I mean,
each team is beatable. Like, not like we didn't think it was like impossible. Like,
right
now, it's like we won 3. Like Paul Rhodes, only the highest he ever got in Big 12 games he won was 3. He never got over 3. He never won more than 3 Big 12 games in a year.
Well, we heard people talking. I mean, there was other people on, talking that didn't, after the Ohio game, we weren't sure we were going to get above 3 wins.
Yeah,
I mean,
coming in the season, some people think we win a game.
Yeah. So yeah,
but it just showed. I think the last couple of weeks have going to show trust the coaching staff, and just I think the coaching staff the last couple of games have out-coached the other team.
Oh yeah,
and
special teams is a huge one. I mean, our special teams look so much better than last year. It is not even funny. And our depth, when you have to look up players, their names, because you don't know who they are for sure, and they're playing well, that's a good sign, because that means our depth is much better than it used to be. Used to be able to name every single starter and probably their backups easily.
Because we knew that when the starter was out, because the backups really showed that we need the – because now it's just like when they throw people out there, we're not thinking, oh, crap. Like, we throw a freshman out there that's – I mean, I don't know, probably Nigel Tribune, if he's listening to this, sorry. But those type of players that play as a true freshman, when they should be 2 years, 3 years before they even step on the field physically. And
when you have to go, hey Siri, who's number 23 on Iowa State or whatever, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's just we have a rock solid, like our defensive line.
Oh shoot, Siri, listen to me on my phone. Sorry.
Our O-line, defensive line aren't getting pushed around, and that I think it's just when we can run the ball, and our running backs like freaking Carson Hansen, Norton, and Samos. I feel like they're I think the reports were that he's sick and not hurt, which is good. And I think we need more Sama, because Sama, when he gets out in space, I think last game he would have even blossomed more if he got more snaps, because Carson Hansen and them, like Norton got tripped by Easton Dean.
Yeah. Well, I think he tripped himself.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the replay, but
I think announcers are pretty quick to love to see silly moments like that, but.
Well, I mean, the thing about Sama with his breakaway speed is that with the development of our offensive line, it's making Sama even more of a threat to break one. And what that does is it has to pull the secondary in, which then opens up, a deep shot to Jaden or, or Jalen or anybody. And so it's such a complementary thing and it all starts with our offensive line. If our offensive line is opening up holes where we've got guys that are threats to break, Sama can outrun anybody, or Norton or anybody getting a 20-yard run, it forces those safeties to think they got to come up and run support. And then all of a sudden we're doing a play action and we've got a guy way open down the sidelines. And, yeah, it's just, we don't want to get over our skis here, but I'm pretty excited. I honestly wish we're playing Baylor this week.
Yeah, let's keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
It's honestly this bye week. It's weird winning a couple games into a bye week. Like
how many times it hasn't happened.
Yeah, right. It's like we're coming out 2 wins and go to bye week, and just like, sometimes just like thank God we have a bye week. But now,
or we needed a bye week to heal up.
Yeah,
and, hopefully somebody's going to be back. I mean,
but we've been pretty lucky on injuries this year, honestly, and it's just we're fun to watch, and it's just nice to turn on a game on Sunday and we're playing. Like, it's not like an Avalanche will have a quarter where we're playing absolutely horrible. I think we're slowly getting, like, we're not making 10 mistakes in a row.
Right.
And it's just, it's fun to watch.
Anybody else we missed that played well? Lovett is playing lights out right now, too, I think. Gary Vaughn is still trying to work his way back. Man, Malik Verdon did not play against Ohio, did he? I think he was out that game.
He freaking played good, too.
Yeah, he had a terrific game, and yeah, so there you can go down. You can spend a lot of time talking about everybody that played with Tyler Morris and Klotz. Klotz did not play in the Ohio game. I know that. They're a big piece of it too. So, yeah, I mean, we had 123 yards rushing from 5 guys.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah,
and just we need to keep those guys around because I think Carson Hansen, his ceiling is really high. I think he can be really good. It's just,
I'm sure Nebraska's NIL is going to come out trying to get him to come back, but I'm not sure that'll happen.
I think he's from Minnesota.
No, Bramer? Are you talking about Hansen? So
yeah.
sorry,
Bramer,
I wasn't paying attention.
Both of them. We need to keep both.
Yeah, right. Bramer's from Nebraska. Hansen's from Minnesota.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good question. Going into the off season, I mean, let's pretend the season ends today. Who's the number one? Like we will board. We need to keep these 3 players.
Well, we got to keep Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Cooper, no doubt. We got to keep Bramer. I mean, jeez. Any of those offensive linemen that are playing well, obviously. The freshmen, why am I struggling with his name? Black? Is that his name?
Yeah, there's the freshmen that we get, we need to keep, because, it's so different now than even, 5 years ago that Brock Purdy was a freshman. It was very weird that he was starting as a freshman and, playing right away. But now, we're Iowa State, and we need to keep players, and we need to play them because why would they sit and be redshirt at Iowa State when they think they can go play and make more money at NIL and actually play? So I think we're going to have to play these kids, and we just have to keep them because
I got to keep Brendan Black. That's the kid I was thinking of, the offensive lineman. But tell you what, you go down the list of some guys that are not playing. Is Demetri Stanley hurt?
He plays. I think he more.
Haven't heard any. Greg Gaines still not on the field.
He had a couple catches in garbage time, and I think it was either Oklahoma. Yeah, I think it was at Oklahoma.
One name that does not get mentioned, he's a true freshman that's going to be really good, is Kai Black from Urbandale. He's going to be really good.
I think Amos has played a little bit. I think he'll be.
Aiden Bitter, is still on the rock. I mean, jeez, I know we're prejudiced, obviously, but I think we have about as much talent as we've ever had right now. So people that didn't think we were going to win a game are looking pretty silly.
Yeah,
all right. So let's do this again. We did this a while back. I mean, we go end of October. Going to make me look good. Beat Baylor. Go into November with 3 losses. Then we have Kansas at BYU. So it's potential. We're going into the Texas game.
Does the at BYU game is the time been set?
No, none of them have. I don't think.
I think
Baylor's 2:30.
Yeah, well, I think that bodes well for us because I think these night games I feel like are harder for young players to go into play well.
Kansas is considered homecoming, which that'll draw a big crowd, obviously. But I mean, if we beat Baylor, it's going to be a tough ticket.
Yeah,
for the Kansas game.
The Texas games.
Yeah, on the Texas game too. I mean, but then we have to go to Kansas State. And I don't know if you watched Kansas State at all or not, but they've got a new quarterback that's got this long flowing hair that is really fast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Kansas State will be a problem, I'm afraid. But boy, that'll be fun to go into the Texas game with the chance to get into the Big 12 championship. But we got 3 games before that to get there.
Even hearing that statement was like, Campbell is done freaking so good.
Yeah.
Campbell is for the fans who get fed up with, like, it's just that the reason why you get fed up is because of Campbell.
Right.
Before that, we were wishing to get to this point where we could be mad at a coach for not winning. But Paul Rhodes' issue was we just kept shooting ourselves in the foot where we need to win these close games, and the recruiting was an issue. And it's funny to see Campbell come in, use Lazard to the highest ability he could, get Hakeem going, use Joel Lanning. Like, it's just masterful what Campbell did to Campbell.
And then Kareem Hunt played, Saturday, and that's one of his also a guy from the Campbell era, a different school. But I mean, he's had some unreal running backs.
That's what I was thinking on Sunday watching that 49er game. It's like, man, think about Campbell. He's like sitting down. He's like watching a player. He's like, I made that kid a bunch of money watching Brock Purdy. I don't think, obviously, Campbell and Brock Purdy's relationship's got to be so close.
Yeah.
They got to talk to each other all the time. But, yeah, it's just weird to see because, like, I remember being at Texas game, like, when Purdy was a freshman. Dave Montgomery got suspended for the first half.
Yeah. Was that the punch against Baylor?
Yeah. So, like, we were riding high. Like, we were thinking we have a chance to make the Big 12 championship game. But, like, you're seeing – I was 19 or 20, around the same age as Brock, and just like thinking, just seeing him out there, like it was Brock under center, but Campbell like will always go out and talk to him. I'm just like thinking it was like 100,000 people. I'm just like, holy crap! Just like
you're putting yourself in that position.
Like,
I mean,
you go out there, you're on 100,000 people, and it's like their offensive line, their D line's freaking massive, and it's just like, all right, here we go, and you just don't have your like secure blanket of Dave Montgomery to have, and it was just crazy, just like a huge atmosphere, and it's just to see him now, it's just like, yep, it just took the baby steps of what he's doing now. Just like he's had been in so many situations where he's just like, all right, here you go.
Yeah, so he was having a rough game, but man, with the crowd going crazy and that last drive, he was money.
Yeah,
I mean, every throw was right on the target, and I can't believe he missed that damn kick though. That was too bad.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. They're still very good, and I think if Debo and McCaffrey can get healthy, and they have enough weapons.
I know that Debo's shoulder X-ray was negative. They said so, but I don't know about McCaffrey. I mean, his is an oblique, which he may just have to play with it. I mean, it's just the abdomen muscle that they probably tweaked, and I don't know when their bye week is. They need a bye week right now if they could.
Yeah, it's just.
So here's my prediction: we're going into Thanksgiving break bowl eligible.
Bowl eligible, yeah. That would be a very happy Thanksgiving for Cyclone Nation. Just like, especially going into basketball season where we're going to get, which is very quiet right now. I think we got a freaking awesome basketball team.
Yeah.
But I think it's gonna be really. It's as we said with Ryan Harklaw, it's gonna be a surprisingly fun fall. We had a couple hiccups. The Ohio game was obviously awful, but it's just fun to see Rocco really fall into what he is.
Yeah, so some of those, I sent you a text about this, but some of you guys out there probably remember, when I was going to Iowa State, I used to go to UNI and hang out with my buddies on the weekends, and there was a pizza place right outside of the Unidome called Rocky Rococo. It was really good pizza. And it's not there anymore. And I don't think there isn't a Rocky Rococo in the state of Iowa anymore. I think they're all in Wisconsin. So I kept thinking, man, would somebody reach out to them and get an NIL deal with Rocky or
Rocco?
With Rocco, and with that, I think it would be kind of funny. But I looked it up, and there's no Rocky Rococos left in the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
Some of you guys out there probably remember that place because you went there about 2:00 in the morning, typically to eat pizza.
I don't remember it.
No, you don't, because you were negative 12 years old or 25 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So what else we got? What else we're gonna go down the roster?
Yeah, I think we've got everything really. Brees Hall, really good. Jaden Higgins, really good. Yeah.
So Tim Floyd was at practice today. I mean, for basketball, we saw that on social media, and we have a guy in town that used to be on Finley's staff that was around Floyd. Was at Iowa State when Floyd was there, and he told me one time that Tim Floyd and Eustace were both basketball geniuses, was what he said. I mean, he said Tim Floyd they were both so good at coaching defense, but then his next sentence would be, but they were wild men. Their practices were insane. So I'm sure, the way we guard, I'm sure Tim Floyd absolutely loves that, and I'm sure it would have been a fun day to be hanging out in the practice facility.
Yeah, people always talk about what if Fred stayed, but I think the bigger what if is if Tim Floyd stays. Because
I don't know.
I think he was a better coach. I don't know. I think he was a better coach than Fred. I think he was a better recruiter than Fred.
Yeah, that would be a good question for Tim Floyd. Is ask him, do you ever thought, I mean, I'm sure every time he checks his bank account, he wasn't not regretting it because he got paid. But
because the Tim Floyd, when UCLA beat us on a buzzer beater, how far does that team go? And I mean, you end up at the Bowls. He took over.
Well, I mean,
Kirk
Heinrich would have played for Iowa State if Floyd would have stayed. I mean, the Collison thing, I don't think that's true.
Because it's just think of what of the different scenarios would have gone on. Like JJ Redick's mom taught at Iowa State. And JJ, I've heard podcasts saying he grew up watching Iowa State. Does he decide to come to Iowa State? But I don't know.
Yeah.
2 championships.
Two
Big 12 championships back to back, and with what Larry gave us, but wish he wouldn't.
Yeah. So we've talked about this before, I think, though. But if Tim Floyd stays, Jamal Tinsley does not come to Iowa State.
But we have Kirk Heinrich and Nick Collison.
No, I don't think we have Nick Collison. Nick
Collison, he always went to Kansas. You think?
Yeah, he may go to. No, I think he was at Kansas.
The funny thing is they never bring up Iowa. No one ever brings up that these players wanted to go to Iowa, and all the players that went to Iowa in the last 10 years, they like Giselle and Uthoff and Wieskamp. But it's funny how all the Omaha, but I feel like Harrison Barnes was the biggest one where we were just we should have had him.
Yeah, Nick I think I talked to somebody who knows Nick pretty well, and I'm pretty sure that he was not going to Iowa State. I don't know for that for a fact.
I think it worked out for him.
Yeah, no, he's fine.
Well, he's
fine.
Has his jersey hung up in Allen Fieldhouse.
So I went away. His jersey's also hanging up in Iowa Falls High School's gym, and we lived. We weren't in this area, for a long time. And when Nick was playing in high school, we didn't live in Iowa even. But then when I go into that gym for the first time and I see his jersey hanging, it's way up in the ceiling with a light shining on it. And I looked at somebody, and I wasn't kidding. I said, "Did Nick Collison die?" Because it almost looked like a memorial thing. Yeah. And everybody's laughing at me. I mean,
there's got to be some difference there. I feel like you can't do the same memorial for people who's alive who was dead.
Yeah,
there's got to be I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, he was a fantastic player, and he's a great human being from all accounts. I mean, I know his brother coached against his brother, and he's a good guy too. And and then also I ran into one of the high school coaches of Audie Crooks. And Audie is having a really good fall and had a good summer with Iowa State women too. So it'd be kind of fun to see her get on the court. And I also did hear that her high school is going to buy a ticket and bus anybody down to their first game that wants to go, because they're playing Truman State, and one of the guards for Truman State played high school basketball with Audie, and so then they're going to play against each other there in both of their first Division I basketball games, which will be a really cool thing. 2 Iowa girls.
Yeah, that's really pretty. Yeah, I feel like that as a player going into that game, having your whole have a huge portion of your town there. I feel like that's gotta be kind of comforting when you're especially Hilton is kind of, especially the women's game. I've only been to 1 or 2 of them, but it's such a more
intimate atmosphere.
Yeah, family atmosphere.
Yeah,
right. When the players go to halftime, they go around high five kids and stuff. It's not it's student based. It's more kids based. And I think that's where I think having TJ around and his wife, Addison Lacey, who is one of the best players to play at Iowa State for the women's, I think that's just kind of cool.
I wonder if Allison Lacey. I wonder if anybody's talked to her lately. I wonder if she was from Australia. I think. I wonder if she's lost her accent.
Oh yeah,
I'll be interested to hear if she still can sound like she's
Finley
from Australia.
even was discussing in the press conference that he was talking to the freshmen that he said this might be the last group that goes fully through Iowa State where he until he's going to retire.
Oh yeah.
So
well, he's been around there forever. He built that thing. I mean, when I was in college, nobody went to the games. I mean nobody. I mean, so Finley, everything that we are reaping the benefits from with women's basketball, with the notoriety and the wins and the atmosphere and everything else, 100% Bill Finley. I mean, and he's a guy. I emailed him one time. I was watching the game and I was really there was a big. I don't remember when it was, 2 years ago. And I was just sitting in front of the TV and I found his email address and I emailed him. Said, "Hey, Coach, congratulations, great game." It was not an hour and a half later he emailed me back. How many times does that happen?
That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen either.
And he doesn't know me from Adam. I mean, he couldn't pick me out of a police lineup. So
he's couldn't have a better human being to have in our athletic department for as long as he was, because he's seen a lot of stuff when he's been out.
And the skill development. I mean, you go back to the beginning of the Bill Finley era and how much better the quality of women's college basketball is now. I mean, it's almost like when the Dream Team, won the Olympics and all of the European teams were way behind us. Mm-hmm. And now there's a lot of parity in women's basketball because there's so many girls that are so much more skilled at that sport. It's almost because there's European basketball players that are every bit as good as our NBA players right now, obviously, because we've struggled in some of the international games. So he's seen a big change in the sport just in his time. So he'll write a book that'll be really long someday about women's college basketball.
The thing I don't get, how much do you think that has to do with it used to be 6-on-6 in high school?
It's just but Iowa and Oklahoma are the last two schools. The last two states to have it.
So nationwide was 5-on-5.
No, yeah, and even in Iowa, the big classes were 5-on-5 for a long time.
Oh,
yeah. So 6-on-6 went away in the '80s, I believe, but Oklahoma had it and us, and then when we got rid of it, I'm pretty sure Lynn Lorenzen played for Ventura and up by Clear Lake, and she was like one of the leading scorers in the world. It seemed like in high school, but she was 6-on-6, and then she went and played at Iowa State and played 5-on-5 and made the transition. But it's definitely made a difference in Iowa, but it's not nationwide though.
Yeah, I didn't really know that. I didn't know the history of it. Like when I heard,
you ever seen a 6-on-6?
I know. We used to play in
PE.
Yeah, because that's how we learned about it. I'm just like, this is a.
Well, I've told this story before on the podcast a long time ago, but when I was a high school coach, I was in my early 20s when 6-on-6 went away. And so I was at Winterset High School, and I remember watching the first JV game of our girls back then, the year after they got rid of 6-on-6. So this is the first 5-on-5 full-blown high school game these girls have ever played. And I counted, the ball hit the wall on the fly like 30 times. Wow. Because they just weren't used to passing it that long, and then they were doing the 3 dribble thing or whatever the rule was and picking up. You couldn't dribble more than that, and because they were so programmed to not be able to dribble that much. I mean, it was the growth that they had from the first JV game of the season till the end of the season was monumental because they just had to get used to the rules. So
I think the Caitlin Clark versus Iowa game this year, I think that should be sold out.
That'll be must see TV.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, she's just fun. I mean, she got signed by State Farm for crying out loud.
That's insane.
So we're gonna see a commercial with Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and Caitlin Clark in it.
Yeah, that'd be kind of
that would be bizarre.
Yeah, Taylor Swift.
And then Taylor Swift.
Yeah, right. That has been
my God, I'm already sick of that story.
It's just like you always have these fans that always get to the point where we love a team or like we love something new, and then we get sick of it and then we just hate the team. Like the Patriots, I feel like they were flashing and new, and then they start winning for 10 years, and like adding this on to the equation of fans that are sick of the Chiefs already. Man, that'd be tough to watch that because she's such a.
She is. I mean,
she's a nut. It's just she's a billionaire on her own. She's like her whole. It's like she's like a whole industry by herself.
Yeah, if her and Kelsey gets married, she's gonna make Kelsey sign a prenup.
Yeah,
not the other way around because she's got a lot more money than he does.
It's like Brady and Giselle. Giselle made way more than Tom Brady ever did in his career, which is insane.
Yeah.
And anyways, that's enough
Enough Taylor Swift talk.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Anything else happen in the NCAA that Colorado lost?
Yeah, Colorado. I went to bed.
Big lead.
Yeah, it's weird going to bed and they're down. They're up 30, and you wake up and they lost.
Shedeur wasn't flashing his Rolex that game,
which is funny because Shedeur, you were talking about how you don't like that. Which every time Brees scores, he does that. It's just kind of funny that you have to watch that.
Well, he did it after the game last weekend, so
yeah,
that's just gets old. I don't know.
I think anyone that does anything to stand out, there's people like, not saying people like you, but just like the Johnny Manziels of the world, the Cam Newtons of the world that are a little more flamboyant with their touchdowns and.
But I don't remember Dion even doing that. I mean. Did you see the clip they showed of Dion when he was playing with the Cowboys and he was interviewing who's your Skip Bayless?
Oh yeah.
Did you see the clip that they were going back and forth
about the Troy Aikman?
The Troy Aikman thing.
Like,
I'd never seen that before.
Yeah, just
Dion was
totally different world back then.
But Dion also though is a really loyal guy. I think he's a good guy. A lot of people don't like the way he does things sometimes, but if you see some of the clips, the way he's handled those guys, I mean, I think he is a good dude. I mean, I'm not going to say you're not going to catch me saying anything negative about him because I think he understands how the game's supposed to be played. He played, he tried to play a NFL game and a Major League Baseball game within 24 hours. So he is a dude. But he's probably getting a lesson on big time college football right now. And
I mean,
I wouldn't bet against him. I'll tell you that.
But this is still his first year,
right? Yeah, no, it's like 4 or 5 games into whatever it is, 7 games into his career.
So Campbell's first year. Think about like how he had to weed out the like the people that shouldn't be there and stuff, and bring his own players in.
Right.
But this offseason I feel like is going to be insane.
It's going to be a free-for-all. Because isn't it the last year before the NCAA steps in with something about transfers? Isn't this the last?
I think they changed like the deadlines and stuff. They shortened like the deadlines, so like
yeah, it's going to be the Wild West with money flying around this year.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see like in 20 years, especially if they rein in pull in. I feel like put more restrictions on stuff to see like what. Like these kids like we're going through and stuff, like the phone calls are getting, and like since the floodgates are open, and it's not like the SMU days where like they're just like you had to knock on their door. Now that just like on their phones they can be contacted by anyone.
Right.
Like, imagine it's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean it's back in the day. I had a boss at one time that was one of LSU's assistant coaches. He actually coached with Pete Maravich's dad, and he told me that when they got a big recruit to commit, that he would move into their basement to keep people away, so crazy. They can make sure they can make it to signing day. That's the truth. He told me that he would just like if they got a big time basketball recruit, they would have a coach live in the basement of the guy's house to keep the other teams away.
Yeah, how are you going to monitor? How are you going to keep the rules and regulations on what's going on nowadays? Like, who is going to oversight the whole? Because we don't trust the NCAA.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no trust at all with the schools and NCAA.
No.
I feel like we're just waiting for the day of like we don't. All right, we're done with you.
I'm afraid, but I'm afraid the kids are going to get caught up in the middle of this, and then there's going to be some kids going to get burned on taxes. Like I've said that, you guys are sick of hearing me say that, but. Somebody's going to get burned on not paying their taxes or getting audited or tax evasion because the IRS doesn't give 2 rips whether you're a good football player or not. They will throw you in jail if you don't pay your taxes or if you're trying to evade them. So, I don't know. I'm just some of this Wild West stuff. I just get worried about, how the kids are going to get treated, and that's why you like the fact that our leader of our program, Matt Campbell, always has the kids put first, and so. Why wouldn't you send your kid to play for a guy like that? I mean, so
yeah. I think we have 2 coaches in the basketball program and football program where they know like their leading recruiting is already solid enough where they don't have to have the NIL stuff to like recruit. Now TJ is such a good recruit without the NIL stuff.
Yeah, but you still have to. We have to have some of it. I mean, Brent Broom's right. I mean, if you're going to give to something, you're going to give to the. Now is the time to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to keep these guys, not just, have one good year and then have, Campbell's job to re-recruit his guys and keep them. And then if they leave, now have to go out and recruit somebody else. That's got to be exhausting.
Just think of like my childhood best players growing up. Like think of obviously projecting here, but I don't know if Jake Sullivan would have stuck around with the Larry situation if he could just have just
if he could have just open transfer,
like
yeah,
the program back then would have just imploded even more.
Yeah,
and how many times I think we're very lucky that Campbell didn't leave, because I think with these new rules and regulations where we're kind of behind the 8 ball and then other schools, they would have just absolutely been a train wreck, I feel like.
It could have been. There's no doubt.
Because our whole team probably would have left. It would have been very hard to keep people to stay. But as we have a solid foundation of coaches been here before and after, and if we could keep him and make the transition. But I think Campbell wants to be here, and
we want him to be here.
Yeah, we want to be here because these young players that are really good that keep coming in. I just think, as Iowa State fans, we always think we get good players and they leave, and we always expect there's gonna be a huge gap of when we get those players back. But Campbell's shown where, especially with the secondary and the D line, where in the history of Iowa State, where those have been the struggles, I feel like. But Campbell's really made those rock solid, and where we don't even think about it's not 12-yard throws down the field just over and over and over again. But we have frickin' Miles Purchase, who has up and down games, but when he made some incredible plays, and then when you have TJ Tampa locking down a whole side of the field, it just makes it so much easier for young linebackers. And it's just
Tampa Island. That's what they're putting on Twitter now.
We're spoiled with it, and it's just him getting another pick, and Jeremiah Cooper having a 5th pick, he getting kind of a cheap pick at the end of the half there.
Yeah, he could have knocked it down, but if I was him, I wouldn't have knocked it down either.
Now he leads the nation in interceptions, and he's just a sophomore, and what's he gonna look like? And I think he could leave next year if he stays. And
he's from El Paso, so I mean, I'm sure Texas Tech, Texas, all of those guys are going to be calling, but who knows? I mean, they could have had him the first go around, but they didn't.
But I think having NFL players be in the spotlight, and I think that really helps us. It really does. And
I do too.
And I think it's going to be a long bye week, I feel like, because I feel like we're ready to prepare for the next game. But I think we can talk about basketball, and just we have stuff to talk about in football, and I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully we're going to get some, I'm sure we have some guys that are a little dinged up and get them healed up, because you never know. Campbell's pretty close to the vest with telling us what's going on. But I mean,
get Verdon all healed up. I mean, he goes out there.
So
he's so violent.
So is Jeremiah. I mean, that's the way you're supposed to. I mean, you think they're violent, then you watch a D-back in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, who was it? Kittle, I heard interviewed last year saying, basically when you wake up on Monday morning, it's like you've been in a car wreck the night before. And that's what you feel like. And he has this whole recovery thing in his house to try to keep his body in shape. And it's a different sport, though. We got to give a shout out to the Humboldt Wildcats too. I mean, Humboldt Wildcats beat the #1 team in the state this week in a monsoon. It was real men's football on grass and mud and yuck and goop, and it was fun. Good. It was happy for those guys, and it's
fun to see players. Obviously, we watched Will play all those years, seeing Corey Detman and Lance Kuhn, all those
they're all played
Humblett's
well.
got one of the best coaching staffs in the.
They've scouted. Yeah, well, I mean, you go down the list. It's a lot of Division I players, even throwing in an NFL guy, and they actually had another NFL guy that left the staff. Yeah. So the depth of knowledge in that place is pretty crazy. But in Clear Lake's having they've had a rough go around. I'm not going to get into it with their coach had a tragedy in his family, and we obviously don't enjoy, them having to go through any hardships, because that is outside of football, and we're hoping that everything's going to work out with him. But it was a good game for our kids, and it is just football.
It was funny. I watched the stream, and it's just funny because it's the automatic one, but it was raining so hard that during the stream you just had to wipe it off. And I
texted the guys in the booth and said, somebody wipe off the camera.
Yeah,
and you could see a towel go across there once in a while.
Just kind of sucked. It was such a great game. It's man, you want better footage here because it was such a good game. But 34-0, and
Yeah, there was some blowout. Webster City had a blowout this weekend, but that was all the equalizer from the weather. I mean,
it's just kind of weird. There's a lot more D1 athletes around in Northwest Iowa. I feel like the last couple of years. I feel like, especially like Algona, like crazy quarterback who's gonna.
Yeah, we're recruiting a couple of Algona's kids are on our radar. The Mansky kid's a quarterback, and then. Their linebacker is really good too. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I know he's on our radar too. And
it's just like weird that we think like those kids grew up watching great Iowa State football.
Yeah, that's right. It's all perspective. They don't remember the 80s and 70s or whatever.
Yeah, or
90s or whatever.
So I think we're in a good spot, and we just need to keep the momentum going. And seeing obviously this bye week, we're gonna have players in the NFL, which helps us get through the bye week, and
it gives. It makes, like I said, it makes my Sunday less productive, but it's fun.
21 days till basketball season, and it's gonna.
You play Wisconsin, Green Bay.
Yep, it's gonna be a fun time.
Should be, yeah. So I'm gonna try to maybe get a guest on. Still, I'm gonna work on that just to get us through the bye week, and it would be an interesting one. Somebody that some of you guys out there remember. I'm not gonna give it away yet, but. And so all of you lifelong Iowa State fans, I'm going to make you feel old for a second. I'm pretty sure John Neal turns 40 this year.
Wow.
The legend of the Iowa State-Iowa game.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. 40 years old?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I was told.
I hope you're right, because John will be like, I'm not 40.
I don't know if he'd be listening or not, but yeah, so he played what? What year was that?
It was the year,
2004?
I think he was a year older than Sullivan.
2000, okay, yeah, so let's do the math real quick. So if he was 22 in 2004, hang on a second.
I'm sure everyone's really interested in.
Yeah, this is great, man.
To hear what John Neal's age is.
Yeah, that's got pretty close. Yeah.
Orness.
Yeah.
We're going to put his address in the description, and you can send him a birthday card.
Good shout out to John. I don't know what his birthday's not recent. I mean, I'm not saying it was last week. I mean, I have no idea when his birthday is.
Oh, okay.
But I'm pretty sure that's the era of those guys right now.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, on that note, we'll end this on All
right. Go Cyclones.
Happy birthday, John Neal.
Well, we don't know when his birthday is.
And go Cyclones.
All right. See ya.